Hello, Abby, and welcome to the Make Life Rich Movement podcast. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me.
Everyone, we're in for a treat. This is my actual friend, Abby, and she owns Evolving Whole. She is a therapist and coach, and she helps people get unstuck. And I can say personally that Abby's been pretty influential in my life for how short we've known each other over the last 6 months or so. And I've seen the transformation of her work in myself. And I think that that was part of the, you know, reason I wanted to have her on was just this focus of getting unstuck. And Abby has such a big heart and a lot of research and time in the field and experience to kind of pair with that as a therapist. And now moving forward with coaching options for being able to work with her. I think we're just going to have such a great and informative conversation about how you can move forward from being stuck. And we're all kind of a little stuck right now, if we're being honest. So, Abby, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
So, tell us a little bit about what led you to taking the therapy route. You have such a big heart. I imagine your relationships had a lot to do with that and just how you interact with people. But what led you to therapy?
Gosh, it's such a long story, but to make it short, I had experience with a therapist when I was very young and thought they were quacks, to be honest. And I've actually had a few, I was thinking about this the other night. I've had two really awful situations with one was a therapist and one was a psychiatrist. And then when I ended up going this route, which I still somehow wanted to be a therapist and then took time off between undergrad and grad school, but it always was in the back of my mind. And I really just want people to have a good experience too. Right. And I wanted to elevate the field without even knowing that's what I wanted to do until much older, and bring the field up to date into a new way. And I think there was just a natural way of me wanting to help people and knowing that that was something that I probably really needed as a younger child. And then fast forward, this was, I figured this out later that I was like, oh, here's the connections. This is what I needed when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
Oldest child doing it all on their own. And that was cool. But you need that sounding board. I truly believe that. And someone that your friends and family are great. They are. But you need someone that's just in your corner who's going to at least my therapist slash coach, she's very direct with me. And so I can be very direct. That's not always necessarily a therapeutic intervention that most therapists use, but I think people need to hear that and
Mm-hmm.
need to hear the honesty or what they're saying reflected back to them in a safe space. And you need that. You don't hear that, if your partner says it to you, you're if your mom says it to you, you're so I
Mm-hmm.
think therapy is a great space for that. And plus, when else do you have an hour that's dedicated just to you and what's going on to your life without me being how is this going to impact me? I'm
Yes.
telling Sarah to go off into this space to go do her thing. And if I'm her friend, I'm also kind of ooh, if I tell her that, I love her, but I also know that's going to impact me sometimes. So
Mm-hmm.
therapists, we just want the best for you. We really do, and help you figure that path out and get.
It's so interesting because I think a lot of people I know have similarly had negative or unfavorable interactions with therapists. And there, as it seems, has been a changing of the guard from what we all kind of had as a bad experience to the era of, there being fluidity between you being able to be really real with your therapist for the hopes of is there a strategy you can help me come up with here to help myself, or helping you to pinpoint the things you need to work on. And I think it's a absolute 180 from the old guard. I met with a therapist 3 times in kind of trying to prepare for my father passing within the next few years, and I had 20 years of grief that I'd never unpacked. And at the second session, the woman tried to get me on some pretty serious medication. And I was like, wow, not only do you not understand the depths of love if you can understand my depths of grief, but where did you get from meeting me and understanding me that I would want medication for this? I came to you for a game plan to help me unpack what's happening here so I can be better prepared for the future. I think what drew me to you so much when I learned that you were a therapist and getting to know you was the fact that you do have this really um, authentic way of allowing the person to kind of present to you what it is they want. And with the tone of a friend, but the experience of a therapist and knowing those boundaries, you're really great at helping people to come up with a game plan that both feels good and is good for them without keeping them in a place to where it's not good or they're going to be stuck forever or it's becoming unhealthy. And I was really excited to have you on because I want people to know that there are people out there like you that can help you in a direction that is tangible and you do feel like you're making progress and you are happy with what's happening rather than being, having pills shoved down your throat and like no one really seeing you and knowing your heart and knowing like what you want, but also taking into account like what you've lived through, what's happened to you, like what dreams have you had? Like tell me about your life. So I just want to thank you for that because you've restored my faith personally in there, being some benefits to therapy, but I want others out there that have kind of been burned in that manner to know that you're here and there have to be more like you, but you can be worked with all around the country. So
Yeah.
Abby's here, guys.
I'm here. And you know what? Also, like, I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea either. And that's why, like, I believe in consultation calls because that gives you like a little taste of who that person is. Because rapport is the biggest predictor of success. Like, I have the education, but like, if you don't feel comfortable and we're not vibing, we're not going to work together. And you
Mhm.
might like look at me and be like, oh, I don't know, you might think I'm cool. Like, I've had people be like, your hair is cool. Like, I want to work with you. Or like, but I also might be unexpected. Like, I've had clients who are like, you're young. I didn't expect you to be like this. And honestly, like, she's a coach. She gave up her license as a therapist. And like, she is not the person I would have ever thought I'd paired with. She's like very religious. She's older. I didn't think she would get me. And the moment I met her in a time that like I really needed someone, it just made sense. She was the person that I needed. And um I've been with her for like over 15 years, like off and on. Like yeah. And like, so you can, I think also like people are like, oh my gosh, like, no, but I don't have to repeat my story. Like, it feels right. She knows everything. Like, I can pick up and be like, oh my gosh, I need to work on this thing. Or like some of it's like more mentorship now. It varies, but she like knows the whole picture. And I think what you're describing too is you went to someone second session. This happens often, one, because of like insurance requirements if you're using insurance, or like you have to give this diagnosis. But sometimes I think people are like, well, someone wants a quick solution, and medication is a can be right, because also it can take you a long time to figure out what's right. But if you really want to do the work, sometimes medication helps, sometimes like you don't need it, sometimes you just have to like work through that discomfort and that pain. But like in a second session, a third session, you're just getting a snapshot of a person. It takes time. Even if someone, I don't do in-depth intakes, but like even some of these intakes that people give you ahead of session, like that doesn't give you enough because you're writing it at a certain time where you're struggling. So I think one, like when you're thinking about like finding a therapist, is like rapport is important. And like if you're feeling like unsure, talk to that person, that therapist, and like let them know like this doesn't feel like it's working or whatever, and maybe
Mhm.
they have another technique, or maybe you're just not the right fit and you go find someone else. Like, I don't know, if I like had a medical issue, I would get a second opinion if it didn't feel right. Not everyone does that, I'm finding out, but like I think that's important to know, that you can change therapists and you can seek out other people and you can work with like coaches that have like expertise in an area that you want to work on, and there's lots of options.
I think I would love for you to break down. There's such a cool movement right now where therapists like you are adding on the services of coaching. I think people, if they've never been with a therapist or they're not really aware of like the code of ethics and the certain like guidelines and things and the boundaries that are in place for you that you have to follow, it is quite different than a coach, because a coach, is kind of someone you're typically giving authority to kind of say like, what's your take? What should I do? If it were turned, what would you be doing? And that's not always the case in a relationship with a therapist. So I love that you are the best of both worlds mixed together. But could you kind of give a little like rundown around what kind of rules therapists have to go by when interacting with their clients?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that you know, I love about therapists who've become coaches is because we've had to study ethics, and we have like our licensing codes that we have to follow. Now, when I work in the capacity of a coach, there's like no licensing governing board, but like I still carry that with me. One, because I still hold my license, but I make it very clear, like when you work with me as a therapist, it's just in a therapy capacity. A coach is just a coaching capacity.
Mhm.
And one way to think about it is coaching is more like specific goal oriented and more, again, not to say that therapy is not this, because I think therapy kind of takes, is like all of this,
Mhm.
but coaching is very much goal specific, future specific.
Mhm.
Yes, am I going to like talk about some of your patterns? Yes, but it's more
Mhm.
like future goal, very specific. Where
Mhm.
therapy, you're often diving deeper into something. There's a trauma or a situation that happened to you. Therapy, sometimes there is more of a diagnostic piece to it,
Mhm.
but also not necessarily. Like I've had a lot of clients who come to me. Actually, my favorite diagnostic code is adjustment disorder, because I feel like so many people, like, they come to me and I'm like, you might present as really anxious right now or depressed because you're grieving, but that's your adjusting to life. So I'm careful with like the coding I give people until like I see them longer times. But therapy, think about like you're processing deeper emotions and thoughts, versus like coaching is moving on a very specific goal. Um, while like I do subconscious reprogramming with coaching, it's like that fine kind of line with that. And I think, again, when you're going to go in that direction, you want to be mindful of like who you're working with, look at their credentials. Does that answer it? Sometimes it's like hard to answer because like the lines are kind of
I know.
blurring. And for me, it's hard because like my therapy has coaching, and my coaching, I can't, it's in my brain, but I know like
Mhm.
where I'm not going to go with someone, but I still
Mhm.
have all those interventions and techniques I can bring. But if
Yeah.
someone's coming to me in a coaching kind of capacity, I'm not going to be focusing on like a specific trauma that happened.
Yeah. It makes perfect sense, and, like, I'm thinking so therapy would be, like, trust issues, and then coaching would be, like, let's get you on a a successful first date.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then I think there's something cool too about that because people may think that they need, I don't wanna say someone to tell them something is wrong with them. But I love the aspect of coaching because it is so problem solving oriented that if you are the kind of person that needs to feel like you've succeeded in kind of like reaching a milestone from like, I was here, now I'm here. I really like your approach to coaching in that regard because it does really give someone the ability to have goalposts and be able to recognize their growth without maybe the long-term unpacking of whatever you're talking about in therapy. I wonder if, well, I'm sure everyone is vastly different, but if you could say some typical themes that you're seeing that people are needing help kind of getting through on the coaching side of things, would you be able to pinpoint that, or is everyone just so different?
I mean, everyone is different, but I think with coaching, see it as like what you said, it's not as like long term
Mhm.
work. It's not as like, I don't want to say deeply focused, because it can be. But you're still not diving into like a lot of deepness, like longer term. Like when I'm coaching someone, I might look at like pinpoint a piece in their childhood to maybe talk about a little bit, but we're not like diving deep into like what happened to you at 6. But themes I think with coaching that I see is a lot of like being stuck somewhere in their life and wanting to move forward. So stuck in careers, stuck in relationships, or just stuck in life in general and just feeling like it's Groundhog's Day every day. And like there's
Mhm.
no like joy. And so it's like a little bit of like moving out of that piece. Burnout is another really big one. Because burnout necessarily, like, what comes first, burnout or like your lifestyle, or is there like something else from like your past? So like I feel like burnout is a little bit more of coaching than in therapy. Relationship stuff spans both, but I think sometimes like I see more like relationship being in a coaching capacity while there are marriage
Mhm.
and family therapists. So,
Yeah.
um, I think again, like looking at the credentials and like of the person and like where do you want to go? If you're more like quick solution to something, coaching I think is more,
Mhm.
it's like a little bit shorter term.
Mhm.
Again, doesn't mean that you can't work with a coach long term either, because you might like work on one thing and then work on something else and work on something
Yeah.
else.
It was interesting. I think you told me one time because I was just like, well, like, what do you do for people that just like don't have anyone in their life and they are just needing someone to give them like a little nudge? Because there are so many people like that that need to kind of like be pushed by like mama bird off the perch. And like, not everyone has that person in their life. You recently did that for me. And I could have sat on that perch for another month and a half, 2 months. And like, it just was someone being supportive, walking through the options and being like, okay, it sounds like a deal. So you think you're going to do this and put it up by this date? Okay, cool. Send it to me when it's done. And like that level of accountability isn't something I've ever really had in a friendship before. And I was like, holy moly, I see now why people do need to have access to this type of, not only like if you're lucky, a friendship for sure, but I think the capacity of a coach to literally be right there with you on the edge and be like, okay, we've talked about this, you have a game plan, let's
Yeah.
go.
Because I think our friends like are afraid, unless you're friends with me. And then I feel like I just recently was like, crap, I should not have said that, because did I just damage the friendship of being like honest? And so there's like in like, like in a coaching or therapy container, like you're like a little bit waiting for the person to find the answer, but then at some point you
Mm-hmm.
just need to like ask that question or nudge. So situation that just recently has been popping back in my head last night. So I had like a client, and think about like your typical, like I'm gonna stereotype guys, so just like whatever. But like you have like that free spirit beachy person, right? So picture that in your head, right? And this client was like, I think I need to go get this job. And I was like, you're gonna have to wear a suit. Like, and I'd worked with, so also, this is not like in a first session. This is someone I worked with for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't help myself. And they were like, yeah, but like, I really need a 9 to 5 job. And I was like, you'll die. Right. And they were like, and as I said, I was like, gosh, I should not have said that. But they were like, yeah, oh my God, like quick. And like to this day, I hear from, I've actually ended up saying it to 2 people at this point, very similar situations. And they're on my mind. So every once in a while I hear from them. They're like, I remember you saying, and like that was like the flip that they needed. And I was like holding back, like, cause that's what my role is supposed to be. But sometimes you need to like say something, or sometimes with couples counseling, you're like, well, then just go get that divorce. And they get mad. Like they get mad at me. Like, what do you mean you're gonna? And I'm not like telling them to, but like sometimes you're like, well, here's the other option. And sometimes, yeah, they kind of get mad at you, but like then they're like, wait, that's not what I want. And it moves them into action. Sometimes you have to show like, what is that other option out there for you? Let me paint that picture. Like, if you
Mm-hmm.
don't launch your program, what else? What does that look like? Right.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, well, no, I really don't want to launch it. Okay, then let's pivot and go somewhere else. Or wait, that's the fire I need. So I don't know. Yeah.
No, that was perfect. I'm obsessed with
That's like
you.
how I work. And like again, it depends on the rapport and the relationship, and it's unique
Mm-hmm.
for every person that I work with, every client. So you're not
Yeah.
getting the exact same every time.
Yeah. I also really enjoyed in getting to know you. Actually, one of the first things I learned about you was this like huge decision that you made for yourself. And I remember thinking today, as I said before we started recording, like in prepping for this, I was like, man, I really didn't think about the gravity of the decision that she made and like what was life like before that decision was made. So I would love for you to just take us right to where you were before you did what you did, because I think it's important for people to know that not only do you like talk the talk, you walk the walk, but this particular situation is one I'm sure many people can identify with. And it is one of those gigantic ones that you could him and haw over for an eternity, or you could do what you did.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm a single mom by choice. I decided to become a single mom by choice I made the decision on my 40th birthday. I also want to empower people to do what they want to do for their 40th birthday. Someone's got a big one coming up. But also right, you don't have to do, I was like, well, my 40th, I'm going to have this huge party. I need to do this. I'm going to go, I wanted to have a catamaran, all this stuff. And then I ended up in the Catskills in the snow hiking with my dog. And, it was perfect all by myself, no phone service. It was amazing. So also and this is the thing, do what feels right for you. And
Mhm.
so I decided right then and there, I was turning 40. I've always wanted to be a mom and dated many guys, and many of them did not want to have kids, or there was other reasons or whatever. And I was like, I'm not going to wait anymore. Like,
Mhm.
how do I do this? I didn't even know single mom by choice was a phrase. And so I was like, I just have to. Another thing is I was, again, out in nature, just being with myself and my
Mhm.
thoughts. What is it that I really desire in life? Where do I want to go? Where do I want to be? What was that dream I had all those years ago that got lost in a way of life happening, focusing on
Mhm.
my career, dating whoever I dated that wasn't great, and you're hung up on it. And so I was just like, all right, we're just going to figure this out. We're just going to figure this out. If you never try, you never know, is
Yeah.
kind of a thought too of all right, let's just see.
Yeah.
And I
Man.
kept it quiet too. I kept it again, I told my coach, and that was the only person I told for a while.
Yeah.
They're like,
I
why
love
wouldn't you be
that.
able to do it? Because why did I keep it quiet? Is I was afraid of all those people that be like, you can't do that. You shouldn't do that. It's going to cost a lot of money.
Mhm.
How are you going to be able to do that? Ooh, that's different. That's weird. Or
Mhm.
all of that. Why would you want to be a mom?
Mhm.
My family physician, why would you want to be a mom? I have kids. Why would you want to be a mom?
Man.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
I think too, I love that there was such agency in your choice because there are a lot of people that just do things because it's what you're supposed to do. Children are a big one on that list. And then you get the comments like, oh, why would you want to be a mom? I'm a mom, blah, 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 blah. And it is one of those things when you are planting seeds for those things that you're dreaming about that are so important to you, you do have to keep them as close to your chest as possible because that bad energy that people put out there, just probably out of sheer projection of
Hmm.
oh, who is she to make this big decision? But in the space of someone trying to make a big decision and not really having a support system, what are some things that they can do during this time where they're kind of just incubating and no pun intended, you were very much taking it into your own hands, but what can someone do to kind of support themselves while they're on this journey of in essence doing a 180?
Yeah. Get a journal. I tell all my clients, everyone I talk to, I love hate a journal. I also have 20 million journals that are empty because they're pretty and I have to keep buying them, and then I start writing what's the perfect thing to write in. There's no perfect way to journal either. But I think you need a space to get your thoughts out and creating time for yourself to
Mhm.
just be with your thoughts, which is also super scary for many people. Be with your
Mhm.
thoughts and find those people that can be supportive and your cheerleader, and you're also going to find along the way, and this is another part, is kind of a grieving part of relationships that you might have to let go of or have to limit interaction while you're making decisions, and it might be with the closest person in your life, but know that there's also a lot of people out there who you can find that can support you. And again, this is the great space to be in therapy or working with a coach who can just hold that space and listen to you, just truly listen.
Mhm.
Sometimes that's what a session with me is like. I'm just listening the whole time, but you get that reflected back at some point when the time's right.
Yeah, it is big just to hear your ideas out of someone else's mouth. Sometimes people don't trust themselves. That's me. It's I have to look at every single degree 42 times before I make a decision some days. And it is helpful to have someone you trust kind of mirror that back to you, as you said, in a way to where you're yeah, yeah, okay, great. It does really take off a lot of the pressure, especially for people that don't feel comfortable making these decisions entirely alone.
And I think so. One of the things I teach, which is like the evolving whole method, is like making decisions when you're whole and making them like, what are you doing when you're half, right? So half actually stands for like hurt, angry, anxious, lonely, fearful, frustrated. When you're coming from that space, you're irrational, like that's where you're going to argue over, what color is my desk behind me? Green, lime green, like what, like everyone's going to have a different when two people are half. And so when you're in a half space, it's hard to make decisions. So when you can anchor yourself and ground yourself in whole stuff, which is like things that are worthy, happy, optimistic, loving, empowered, enthusiastic, like all of those, either it's like remembering those moments or doing those activities, you're rational. Your rational mind kicks in. And then you can take those steps, those action steps. And so, like for me, my decision, yes, was I feeling like frustrated that I didn't find the right person? Yeah, you could say that. Fearful that I was like, time was a ticking. Yes. But when I made the decision, I was anchored and whole. I was like, hey, because why? I was like on a hike with my dog in the middle of nowhere, right? And so I was anchored and whole. That's why I knew it was also the right decision. It wasn't coming from a place of fear. It wasn't coming from a place of like reaction. I was responding to like where I was in life and where I wanted to be.
It is huge to take your feelings into account when you're thinking about action, because I think a lot of people, before they get to a place of being able to be introspective in that way and kind of like first see that you're in a situation and then stop and be like, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
am I capable right now of handling like making a good decision that I'm going to be happy about like tomorrow or 2 hours from now? That was, I know for me, one of the biggest steps on me getting my life together. Like back in 2010, that was one of the first things. Like what do they call it? Like a hairpin trigger. Like I was just like, I would fly off the handle in a second.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a lot of just like noticing that and then being like, whoa, like, okay, how about you just keep your mouth shut until you're not angry anymore and then like see what happens or whatever the circumstance was. But that's such a big point. I think a lot of people are used to not really, maybe not processing, but just recognizing all the steps they're going through because it's just like your coping mechanism, like your habit, and it doesn't have to stay with you for forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wonder if you could walk us through, you're big on like nervous system regulation. I think part of us recognizing like when we're flying off the handle or being scared or any of these half reactions. Can you kind of just explain a little bit about the nervous system and what we're feeling when we're great, what we're feeling when we're not, and then, how can we get ourselves back to the middle when we're in a place where we're just like
Yeah.
not feeling it?
I think again, like we're in such this world where like it's go, go, go. And so we often are not. We're so tuned out of what our body is telling us until we react, until we're like deeply in that state of like crisis kind of mode, or physically, like our body physically shows up sick then. Stomach, like they're saying, I am not a physician, but they're saying like they're finding reasons that so much autoimmune is due to like stress levels, right? And I don't know the science, take that for whatever, but to me it's like, yeah, it makes sense. Like we don't take a break so you can turn your body off. And here's another thing, I've met so many people who go on vacation and get sick because why? Because your body's like, I'm relaxed. I can get sick now. I'm
Mhm.
allowed, quote unquote, to get sick. And so,
Mhm.
like, that's your nervous system, like, not working how it's supposed to be. Our nervous system is telling us when you're feeling something, people are like, I don't want to be stressed. Well, the stress is good. I see stress is good and anxiety is good. Your body is telling you something, it's giving you a very clear message. If you ignore it, it's going to get louder and louder, and then it's going to show up in other ways. So, like, listen to that message as something to take that time, pause, and reflect. It's not to say, like, there's lots of techniques to like calm your nervous system. I love them, right? I think it's super important because then you can make decisions and have time to reflect. But it's also like, let's just sit in some of that for a little bit because it's giving us information. Like, it's okay to feel uncomfortable, and it's okay to feel anxious, and it's okay to feel stress. What is it telling us? It's telling us something's not working. right?
It is interesting when you do start to realize like the physical reactions that come with. So I think a lot of people have created like coping mechanisms. This used to be me to where I could just like, oh, it's not a problem. Like, even though it was very much a problem. And
Mm-hmm.
it did kind of take me having panic attacks and like physical reactions later in life after years of just shoving stuff down to then recognize like, oh, yeah, like everything, if you ignore it, it's going to get worse. So it is kind of cool to learn that there are ways that you can not only notice when this is happening, but then, working with a coach and being able to gain like an understanding of what you personally need to move yourself through this space, I think is huge. And a lot of people get stuck again when they find themselves just truly not knowing how to decipher what's real and what's not based on how they've always behaved and how they want to move forward. And I know for me, it took a really long time, even after things were like quote unquote okay. And I had like a plan and a tool system, like or a tool belt with all the things in it. I couldn't get rid of the anxious stomach. That took like a year of like me day in and day out, just letting my body know everything was okay. And then about 6 months ago, I recognized one day, like, oh my God, I don't have anxious stomach. And now I don't even get anxious stomach when I'm anxious. So, like, I feel like I've really done good work in getting to that space. But I never would have known that you're not supposed to feel that way 24/7 if someone hadn't drawn to my attention how high I was running.
Yeah.
Like, it's like running a motor with no oil. Like, eventually you're gonna pop, and
Well,
it's
and how normal is
crazy.
it to have that conversation with your friends? Like, oh, my stomach's anxious, like, oh yeah, mine too. Like, oh, we just keep going. It's like, oh, I'm like, it's almost like an award in a way to have anxious stomach.
Yeah,
Like,
like a badge of honor.
yeah,
Yeah.
like being busy and all of that. And then when you undo it and then you connect with people who like get it, right? And you're like, wow, I don't have to feel that way. Or
Mhm.
when stress or anxiety comes, like, I know how to handle this. This is a good thing, right?
Mhm.
And I mean, of course, we know we can numb it in so many different ways. And we grow up watching it on TV. Like those, we, as wanted to be successful. What do women, oh God, what was the one show I'm trying to picture? Like at the end of her, like she had a high powered job. At the end of the day, she's always in this luxurious, like apartment pouring herself like a
A glass of
whiskey.
wine.
And
Yeah.
that's how she, or wine and like chilling and like, but we're just numbing, and not facing what we need to. And so, like, you might do it with food, you might do it with not eating, right? You might do it through like too much exercise, right? So, anything in excess
Mhm.
can like numb us and tune us out of all of that. Yeah, there was another point, but like, yeah, get it.
It is interesting because unless you have a friend that's already started this healing, it's not likely you're going to have people around you that can give you like the heads up, like, you don't have to live this way. We can do something about this. Like, do you want to do something about this? Cool. Then, like, let's start working together. And I'm going to help you like regulate everything
Yeah.
to work for you the way you need it to work for you. But it is a good point. There are so many of us that are just consciously and unconsciously anxious or nervous or scared or angry and trying to bury it by acting like everything's okay. And it does take a professional sometimes to just be able to say to you very directly, like, hey, you don't have to live this way. There
Mhm.
are things you can do. And there are things that over time are going to keep compounding and it's going to get easier and the effect is going to be bigger and it's going to last longer. It's really cool to see. I know it's probably not okay to call you a healer, but you are a healer. You're healing the parts of people that I think um, traditionally has been professionally numbed. And
Mhm.
that's what I like so much about your practice. You are both for therapy and coaching. You're getting to the nitty gritty of the things that even the professionals don't want to pay attention to and don't want to shed light on because the work level is just like too much there. And I think you make this incredible, immense work very digestible in a way that doesn't feel like you're like starting to like dig up a mountain, like you're very much making every day easier to get through. And then the next day, you're adding more tools, and it just feels very approachable, an approachable way to change your life and get unstuck, as you say.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, right, it's scary. It's like all of this is change. And sometimes I'm like, disclaimer, like everything in your life is going to change at some point. Your relationships, you might be letting go of friendships from a really long time. But guess what? It's opening like this whole new world to you. And like, while, yes, are we going to be doing deep work? Yes, but it doesn't have to feel like this grind and like, might it be painful and uncomfortable? Yes. But it can be done in a way that doesn't have to feel so heavy
Mhm.
because I don't, I know when I do that work for myself, I don't want it to feel heavy.
Mhm.
I actually
Right.
don't like talking about my feelings, guys. Like, I don't want to, but in that space, I'm going to. And I know it's so important. And you're going to find people, like, as you're on this path, you're going to find people that you start feeling comfortable with. And then you're going to be able to have these deeper connections. Like, it's just really amazing what does come out of all of that. But there is a change. And this isn't work that, like, at least the work with me, it doesn't have to take long, right? I'm not going to ask you, like, we're going to do an hour session a week. You're going to have like a little bit of stuff to focus on. But again, it's going to be scaled back to like what your life really looks like. Because I don't want your work with me to be more work. And I don't want you to be like checking off the stuff with Abby, checking off the like that, because then you're not going to get anything out of it. Like, you want to have that. And so that's why, like, also the virtual work has been amazing,
Mhm.
or some of the group work that I've done is amazing because the group work builds community. One, so you know you're not alone, because any of you guys out there, you're really not alone in wherever you are. You just have to find the right people. So often I'd be like, therapist Abby would be like, I wish I could like match make friends here because you're here. Like, can't be like, here's my client, Sarah, you really need to meet, Jane over here because you're going through similar things. Like, you'd be best buds right now. But
That's a
that's where like the
jillion
group,
dollar idea.
right? Like the group coaching helps me be like, you're not alone. Like, maybe your story isn't exactly alike, but your feelings are there and they're valid. And like the virtual just makes it easier to like
Mhm.
have access and like fit it into our schedules.
Was there ever a time that like you can remember that you really had a difficult go of making change and getting unstuck?
Me personally,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, so many times.
You're like, "Me personally?"
Oh my gosh, so many times. So many times. I think there was like times that I was like in a relationship and like dating someone and fighting and trying to force it to work. The fact that I knew I was changing myself and remember being like, I'm a chameleon. I'm great. I can like make myself fit with this person and still be okay. Like,
Mhm.
what? Like,
Yeah.
44-year-old me is like, what were you thinking? Like, no.
Yeah.
And I remember like my coach being like, she's direct too. So I she mentors me like very much. But like, she's like, I don't know. I don't know. And then like finally the reflection of being like, I would have died in that house with that person. The walls were ugly and it would have just been awful too. Like, I would have been I picture myself, like I'm thinking this one relationship, I would have been sitting in this corner, like rocking back and forth. Like, but I was trying to fit so much in a mold because I wanted something. I wanted a relationship. I wanted to feel good. I wanted a person.
Yeah.
So that's like one, I mean, gosh, there's probably so many examples. And also, there was a point where I thought I was doing everything right. I was working out, I had a personal trainer, I was eating clean, healthy. Right. I had what I thought was like the perfect work schedule. I worked Monday through Thursday. I had a full caseload. I was seeing clients back to back to back, but I was like, I'm young. I can keep up with this.
Mhm.
And then I was paddleboarding and traveling all over the country to paddleboard and living. I was like, I'm living my best life. And my body was finally like, no, you're not. My coach was like, you need to slow down. I'm like, but I'm having fun on the weekends. I'm meeting all these people and I'm doing what I love and, work hard, play hard. Right? Isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? And my
Yeah.
body decided not to. And I was stuck in it and I could see it. And my body was like, nope, 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 nope. And I still like really wanted to continue that. But my body was like, no. And I felt really stuck. And then I felt defeated and I felt like I failed. And I felt like, why can't I do this? Shouldn't I be doing it? Everyone else is doing something like this. And like they were masking it. Their bodies hadn't quit on them yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, it's like we've all been through those things, and looking back on them, you almost like just have to give yourself the grace of like you were doing your best. You were doing all you needed to do, and when you know better, you do better. Like as Maya Angelou says, you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
I would love for you to tell us about all of your programs
Mhm.
and groups and the ways that people can work with you.
Yeah, of course, there's always one-on-one sessions. They're all virtual. I will be doing some intensives that would be in New Jersey where I live. So the nice thing about intensive, it's like a longer session. We could do those virtually too, to be honest. It would just be a little bit different. But that's where like we can really dive in. And you could be working with another coach and therapist to do an intensive with me. It just kind of jump starts you a little bit to get you like moving, and we do some subconscious reprogramming, maybe throw some tapping in, and I'm teaching you things that you can use outside of our work together. A lot of like, again, reprogramming like our inner self-belief and like talking to that inner critic that's getting us stuck and thinking, it should be this way, or what's that story we've been telling ourselves. I have a group coaching that's coming. I know Sarah's been beautiful in helping me navigate this and figure out the
It's gonna
the
be so fun.
behind the scenes work. So she's been motivating me to get there. So of course it's been written, it's ready to go. It's just that other piece. So like you could like, I don't know, be in contact, follow me, be on my newsletter, and I'll let you know when that's happening. And then that's going to happen throughout. Like I'm going to keep the group coaching going because I think it's really important. And I've done these before and it's been great. And people have like also built friendships, and then they like, peace out, Abby. And they like build something on the side, which I love. And they
Mm,
stay in contact, which I love. I think we need such community right now. Um,
yeah.
I have workshops. I have like a free stress meditation. It's like less than 7 minutes that people can listen to, and that just kind of gives you a nice little taste of some of the work that we could do together. And then I'm going to be having some hypnosis and subliminal recordings for people, or one-on-one, where like there will be general ones, and then there will also be something like if there's something very specific that you want.
Hmm.
So we would do like a few sessions, record that, and then you have it. And workshops, I got like all the fun stuff. Like
So much.
I
I
like
love it.
I like having, one, for me, I love the diversity, right? Of
Hmm.
having different offerings. And
Hmm.
two, like great touch points that like anyone out there listening, there's something for one of you out there to get like kind of like introduction to kind of this type of work in a way that feels comfortable and
Hmm.
tangible for you. And again, I'm always gonna do like the free consultations because you need to get to know, like you're going to get to know me through like these things, but like get to know, like, are we a good fit, and
Yes.
also for me to know, like, are you a good fit for this program, or would you be better here? I think that's really
Yes.
important. Now I'm honest, like, I think back to like years and years ago, I worked at J. Crew, and like women would come in and they'd be like, I worked at the King of Prussia Mall, like I'm gonna point because that's how I talk, right? Like Lucky Brand jeans was upstairs across the way, and women come in trying on jeans. I'd be like, no, you need to go to Lucky Brand. Go. Like that's the jeans that are gonna fit you. And so with me, like we're gonna hop on a call, or you might like be interested in like one of the things. I'm gonna be like, that's not where you're at yet. Or maybe I'm not the right person. There could be something specific that you're looking
Hmm.
for, and I'm not the right person. Maybe it's like go work with this person and you can come back, or
Hmm.
whatever. So that's why I think consultations are really important, and like ask for them because I don't know like how many people advertise them.
Hmm.
I think it's important.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Gosh. All right. All of that will be linked in the show notes. There's just so many ways that you can just get to talking with Abby. I highly, highly recommend Abby. And, I've only featured a few therapists on the show over the last few years, and they good ones are out there, guys. I know there's like been a lot of weird stuff we've all had to deal with over the last 10 to 15 years that you last gave it a try, but a lot has changed. There's so much room for improvement, like in all industries. But I think what's really great is that our own generation is now in a space with experience and time that they can help these different industries of healing to both evolve and keep the great parts of the original bits
Yeah.
of the formal education we need. So I think it's a great time to be getting yourself into therapy or coaching. And if you're feeling stuck, you don't have to be. There's so many resources out there. And Abby is definitely one of the people that I would consider getting to know better to see if she can be a part of your healing journey. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Abby. Oh, I have one final question that I asked all my
Yeah.
guests, and it's this. Abby, how do you make your life rich?
Hanging out with my daughter because I'm obsessed with her. No, yeah, like I really think like that if like you ask me at different points in my life like what that is, and I think just like that because she brings so much joy. All right, are there tough moments because people are going to be like rolling their eyes at me? Oh yeah, we had them today. But there's so much joy, and like you have Sophie, like your dog, right? Like I had my dog, and like they're just like these bright lights, right? And so like find something that brings you that energy, whether it's dog. Like don't go have a kid because like you want that bright light because it's not always
Yeah.
like that. But like, like there's something, or I want you to like find it in yourself. So even like in those tough moments, like finding like a glimmer or something in your day, like some days it's going to be harder, but like you can find it, like a warm cup of coffee like can be the glimmer that you had that day, and sometimes it's something bigger. So my life just feels rich by having her in my life and just like knowing that I went for it. And I don't know, am I even answering it?
No,
But I
you
think
did. You did perfectly. I had a feeling that would be your answer. And I think you have also been one of those parents that really restores my faith in parenthood and the way that we're moving forward, especially generationally. I think there's a lot that our generation is like, we're leaving that in the 80s that can never move forward or go anywhere ever again. And I really just admire so much the relationship that you and Poppy have and all the effort that you put into her. And it just looks like it's your favorite thing you've ever done in your whole life. So I know how badly you wanted her because I see it in the moments that you share with her. And she's so smart and I'm sure she's very adamant when she wants something, but I'm sure you're right there in that moment. Like, I literally dreamt about this. Like, this is the greatest thing that's happened to me today. I have a defiant little girl that's going to change the world. That's great.
exactly what I dreamt of. They say be careful what you wish for. It's all of that. But I think like when you work hard for something, like whatever it is, and you put like that effort in, like there's so much joy in it. Yes. Is it hard? Yeah. That's why I like challenges. Sometimes I'm like enough challenges in life, but like challenges are so great because it makes you really recognize like the beauty in life.
You're so great, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your life and all of your work. Guys, there's going to be links in the show notes. Please check them all out. Absolutely follow Abby because she will be launching her group program soon. And you can jump on that wait list and get up in there to be a part of the change and get unstuck. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Abby.
Thank you.